So Pew Research shows that household chores ranks among the third highest priority associated with a positive or successful marriage, and that's only behind faithfulness and good sex. So if you can get your household chores and roles and responsibilities in order, you can have one of those hallmarks of unity. So let's talk about that today.
If we get into a constant battle over household chores, which we have seen this over and over and over in our counseling sessions.
We've been in constant battles over household chores.
This has happened, especially at the beginning of our marriage. I think we've kind of ironed out, okay, who does what?
Right.
But things could start to feel very unsafe. Yeah. So what happens is people go from, or spouses go from being teammates to being opponents. And they can't seem to get on the same page with this because really they feel unsafe sharing what they need, and they feel like they're going to be taken advantage of. They start thinking that their wife or their husband is out to marginalize or use them, or so they don't feel safe. And so they stand their ground and argue around the same thing that they've been arguing around for a long time. Yeah.
And, if you are constantly going back and forth from teammates to opponents, your brain registers that as unsafe. And that fractures that bond between you and your spouse. And you're not going to feel intimately connected. When you're not feeling safe, you're not feeling fully trusting in that person either.
And what's difficult is if you do this jumping back and forth over and over and over, what will happen is you'll anticipate the negative when she could have been, or he could have been, approaching you in a neutral manner or even a positive manner. You'll maybe jump to an assumption and turn it back into the opponents again. So it's very difficult at times to get out of that negative flow, get out of the crazy cycle, and to kind of get some of this stuff ironed out. And so this is a really great place to start for a lot of couples, I think, because who doesn't have household stuff? I mean, we have dishes in the counter. We got kids, or a lot of you do. Maybe you don't have kids, but maybe you're sick of the socks on the floor or whatever. Like, whose job is it to wash the clothes and fold the clothes?
Or the expectation that simply because the other person was home, you thought that they were going to have it done, and it wasn't. So that can be a common one too.
Right.
And so, how do we solve this? That's a huge question. But first, let's ask, where do our expectations come from? Believe it or not, even in the 21st century, when we claim to be modern and, focused on equality, our expectations of household responsibilities come from our upbringing, from our parents, from our society. And, that can cause issues, especially in the 21st century when a lot of times both the male and the female are working outside the home, and yet there's still this expectation that they're going to handle the household chores the same way that their parents or grandparents did.
So if their parents, say, speaking from the guy's perspective, if I saw my parents, my dad went to work, my mom was at home, and, he's just in charge of, the outside, mowing the lawn, taking out the trash, well, that doesn't take a ton of time. And so if I'm coming from that perspective, but both of us work, both of us are out of the house at the same amount of time, then maybe I still take out the trash and I mow the lawn, and then I go chill on the couch while she maintains the rest of the housework. There might be a perception of unequal workload.
And some resentment can start to build up. And so one of the ways to solve this is to look at, instead of just traditional male-female roles, because really the Bible does not give us specific household duties.
Thou shalt take out the trash.
Right.
Men.
So instead of divvying it up that way, one way to divvy it up is based on skill or preference. So for instance, Adam likes to put earbuds in his ears and listen to a book and go to town on the floors. He'll sweep, and then he'll vacuum and mop, and I do not like doing the floors at all, and so I gladly let him take that one. And then when it comes to organization of the finances, we talk about what we're doing and how we're spending and budgeting, but when it comes to like paying the bills and doing the spreadsheets, he hates that. So I take that part on. So it's kind of based on skill and preference rather than traditional male-female roles.
Right. I think there was a time in our marriage where we kind of tried to like, well, hey, you're supposed to make dinner. But dinner wasn't made at certain times. And I was like, well, I want to eat, So things have flip-flopped, things change. And remember, like, there are different times of your life that call for different support, right? So there are times in my life where, or our marriage, where I worked more, right? Mm-hmm. And she was at home more. And so she took on a lot of the household responsibilities. And then it flip-flopped. Mm-hmm. I didn't have as many hours outside of the house as she did. She was working full-time. So I took on that responsibility. Mm-hmm. And this comes from this understanding of, what needs to be done.
Right.
It's not like I need to do these tasks in order to feel like a man.
Sure.
There's nothing that says washing dishes is a woman's job.
Right.
I might think that, or I might have that perception, but there's nothing, there's no name or, sign over there that says, thou shalt wash dishes, women. This goes back to the concept that we need to both feel, in order to have a successful marriage, we need to feel that there's an equal share of the responsibilities in the house.
Yeah.
And that's
inside
perceived.
And outside the house.
Right, and that's perceived. Mm-hmm. So if I have the perception of it's equal, we're both working, then I'm going to feel more satisfied. But if I feel like I'm holding most of the weight and she's just playing solitaire on her phone, then I'm going to have resentment build up.
Yeah.
And then we're going to get back to that like teammate versus adversarial roles. And that is not a good place to be.
Yeah, definitely. And so Adam implied this too, sometimes it's based on skill or preference, but then sometimes it's just based on availability and need, so like if we're going to go out of town soon and one of us has a few clients and the other doesn't, then that person can start to get the house packed and get the kids ready. And it doesn't matter if they're male or female, right? It's just based on availability. We both could be equally skilled or prefer or not prefer that activity. But sometimes it's just based on need and availability. Right. So the key to all of this is communicate clearly about it.
Right.
Make your intentions known.
And the way to communicate this is not after you did what you didn't want to do, or after noticing them on their phone and you're just like fuming and then you just pop, right? Do this maybe on a date, or do this when you guys are fully giving each other attention and it hasn't happened like within the last 30 minutes.
Yeah, be proactive about it.
And ask the questions, like, what do you feel about our distribution of tasks?
Right.
Are you more of an egalitarian when it comes to this, or do certain jobs have my name on them, or is it more of a I have time right now, I should probably jump in, my wife's at work, or vice versa, right? My husband's at work and this needs to be done before we leave. I should probably just jump in and do that.
Yeah.
So have this discussion, talk about it, lay out your expectations.
And there's a verse that we wanted to share with you. Philippians chapter 2, verse 4 says, "Look not every man on his own things, but every man also on the things of others." And so it's kind of just a way to say, be there for your spouse and think about, their needs and priorities and preferences too. So just keeping each other in mind.
So we encourage you, have this discussion, talk about it when you're not escalated.
Yes.
And I think that you guys can really find a really great balance. We do have some tools. If you've looked at our video vault, there are tools there like 6 steps to a win-win, or there's a whole bunch of others that are in the conflict resolution, or models to help you collaborate instead of compromise.
Right.
And find some good solutions to help you both feel like you're winning through this. Because this is going to be something that's pervasive. Household chores are not going to go away.
Right. Yeah. So utilize some of those tools and feel free to reach out if you have any questions, or even if you want to schedule a counseling session or two to kind of iron some of this out, and we can equip you with some more tools. We'd be happy to do that.
This kind of stuff is fun to work out a lot of times too.
Yes, it can be for sure.
So let us know. and have a wonderful day.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.